Ryan Reynolds finally got the court ruling he has been begging for, and somehow it still made him look bad. Because Ryan has spent the last year acting like Justin Baldoni pulled him into this mess for no reason. Like Baldoni's side was so reckless and so desperate that the court was going to take one look at the filings, laugh, and throw Ryan out of the case completely. That is not what happened. Judge Lyeman reprimanded Baldoni's lawyers for getting too aggressive with some of the claims and for dragging in plaintiffs who did not really belong in the fight against Ryan. And Blake and Ryan's fans immediately flooded social media with exactly what you would expect. Huge win, massive victory. We told you. And yes, technically they are not wrong that a reprimand happened. But the way the Ryan crowd is celebrating this, you would think he just walked out of federal court with a full exoneration and an apology card signed by Justin Baldoni before he could even start designing the victory merch. He did not. Because buried inside Ryan Reynolds' supposed big win is a very uncomfortable detail his defenders are very carefully not mentioning. Judge Lyeman refused to sanction the defamation claim against him, and that matters more than anything else in this ruling. Ryan wanted the court to say the allegations tying him to this mess were ridiculous, unsupported, and completely detached from reality. He wanted the judge to basically say there is no world where Ryan Reynolds belongs in this part of the case. He filed this motion like he thought Lyeman was about to hand him a check and reimburse him for emotional damages and printer ink. Lyeman would not do it. Because under New York law, you do not actually have to be the person who personally said the defamatory words. If you were part of the effort that produced them, you can still be held liable. That is not some weird loophole Baldoni's lawyers invented. That is actual New York law. Lyeman looked at the defamation claim against Ryan Reynolds and said this is legitimate and not sanctionable. Ryan probably spent more filing this motion than most people make in a year and walked away having accomplished absolutely nothing on the one claim he actually cared about. That is a pretty rough thing to have sitting in the record when your whole defense has basically been built around the idea that you were barely even there. People on his side are obviously going to grab onto the part where Baldoni's lawyers got reprimanded, and yes, that happened. But his defenders are acting like the court looked at Ryan and said this poor innocent man never should have been dragged into any of this. That is not what happened. This ruling says Baldoni's side got sloppy in some places and brought in people who were too far removed from the actual contracts and business relationships at issue. Embarrassing for Baldoni's lawyers. Not a giant declaration that Ryan is innocent. And then there is the money situation. This motion was not just about money. It was filed early in this case, specifically to paint Wayfarer and their lawyers as bad faith litigants in front of the judge who was deciding everything. It was a reputational attack dressed up as a procedural motion. And after all of that, Lyeman looked at the whole thing and said no. Even on the claims where he agreed the lawyers had overreached, he declined to award Blake and Ryan a single dollar. No attorney's fees, no costs. No financial penalty of any kind. Ryan walked away with a reprimand directed at someone else's law firm and not 1 cent in his pocket. The bad faith narrative they tried to build around Wayfarer's lawyers did not land, and neither did the check they were expecting. And speaking of overreach, it is genuinely rich to watch this side argue that Baldoni's lawyers dragged in parties who had no business being there when Blake's team spent months subpoenaing content creators, YouTubers, and social media accounts with a few thousand followers who made videos from their living rooms. Those people got legal letters demanding their personal information, their records, their private communications. That is the side now making an overreach argument with a straight face. The level of self-awareness required to do that without flinching is truly something to behold. Here is what the ruling does not say. Lyeman did not say the allegations about Ryan calling Baldoni a sexual predator to WME executives were false. That part is still sitting in the court record like a bad smell nobody can get rid of. He did not say Ryan had no involvement. He said some of the plaintiffs were too far removed to bring certain claims. That is not innocence. That is procedure. Ryan did what he always does. He took a small technical point and tried to sell it like total victory. The judge basically said some of the wrong people sued Ryan, but that does not automatically mean Ryan had nothing to do with the underlying conduct. That is a very different thing, and no amount of celebration posts changes what is written in that ruling. But honestly, the funniest part of this whole thing is that Ryan was already out of the main lawsuit. He could have shut up, disappeared for a few months, smiled for a few cameras, sold some more gin, and let Blake carry the mess he helped create. Instead, he keeps wandering back into the story like a man physically incapable of not making everything about himself. Instead, he filed this motion, helped drag more documents into public view, and gave people an even closer look at the guy hiding behind the smirk and the branding. Because Ryan cannot help himself. He always has to get the last word. He always has to remind everyone he is in the room. And all he really did was hand people another reason to side-eye him. So, honestly, thank you, Ryan. Nobody has done more damage to Ryan Reynolds than Ryan Reynolds. Because he only works when people still buy the act. Every new filing and ruling chips away at it a little more. The cool guy image starts slipping, and suddenly he is not Deadpool anymore. He is just Blake's over-involved husband standing in the middle of a federal mess he keeps pretending has nothing to do with him. You cannot joke your way out of court records. And lately, Ryan feels less like a real person and more like a brand people are getting tired of being sold.
That's my opinion!